coming close to the end of fall camp, just how do you think the offense has developed over the course of these last couple weeks?
I think we've made a lot of progress the last, we're basically 4-day cycles. And so I felt like the previous cycle, we made more progress than we had in the 2 prior to that. I think I mentioned this last time we talked, I can't remember for sure, but we have a lot of guys who have played a lot of football and are talented players. We've lost some key players and we've lost some depth. My biggest concern right now is how fast can the next guys catch up to be ready to play at a level that we'd like for them to play at numerous positions.
Is the offensive line where you would want it to be at this point?
No.
What do you need to do in order to get it where you want it to be?
I just think we have to continue to build the right kind of culture. I think we're taking steps in the right direction. I think Daryl's a great offensive line coach. The guys trust him. They believe in him. And so I think we have the pieces in place to be a quality offensive line, but we are definitely still a work in progress. The good news, I think, is the fact that we still have competition ongoing, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, just in the center competition, first of all, just how have you seen those guys continue to battle, and with the 2 different styles, what's that been like having them cycling now?
Yeah, I felt like Shane came in as one of our more improved players from last spring. Thought he was playing with a lot more confidence. I thought he had just a vibe about him that felt like, okay, this guy is a Power 5 center. He can do it. He believes he can do it. His communication was good. Playing well. Got a little bit banged up. Bryce, I felt like came in a little bit uncertain just because it was all new for him. But I think he's gotten better and better, and I think he's really made a lot of progress in that last cycle. He would be one of the guys that made the most improvement. So we've got a good battle going there, and I think both of them could play guard as well. So it pushes us towards just trying to find our best 5, and I wouldn't say that one of those guys would be outside the possibility of another spot.
With the offensive line, has anything unexpected happened than what you anticipated at the start of camp?
I don't think so.
With Isaiah Marshall and just kind of his growth overall, have you seen a significant step for him from the beginning of camp to now?
Yeah, for sure. He's a guy that just has a natural confidence about him. Not real loud, but when it's time for him to communicate, he is not at all timid, hesitant at all. But there's an inner strength. I think he knows he's a dude, and when he gets his opportunity, I think he feels confident that he's going to perform, and we feel that way too. I think Coach Z's done a tremendous job with him. He's a great coach, and he does more work with quarterbacks than any quarterback coach I've been around, just in terms of the time he spends with them on and off the field, getting the most out of every single second on the field. I'm talking about pre-practice, individual drills in practice, when special teams is going on. A lot of quarterback coaches I've been around look at that as a time to take a break and just kind of talk about the next plays that are coming up. Not Zeke, he's getting the most out of those moments, and I think that's why Zeke and Cole have both really improved. But I got a lot of confidence in Zeke and his future here.
Yeah, and I was talking to him about just kind of learning coverages and plays and stuff like that. He mentioned kind of uses Madden and CFB 25. Is that something some of the players kind of
Mentioned how what?
He uses Madden and CFB 25 to kind of learn defensive coverage. Is that something a lot of players use to kind of get a leg up, I guess, and learn themselves?
A lot of players play the game.
Yeah,
I don't know what kind of carryover there is. One of the coaches I worked with before used to play it a lot, and I would say, "Hey, let's run this play." He goes, "Oh yeah, that's killer on Madden." And I said, "We'll see if it works in real life." So I would think any time that you spend thinking about the game is a positive, whether it's Madden or whether it's watching a game on TV or studying film, watching an NFL game or watching your own practice.
Chip, what do you see from your position group, the tight ends, through fall camp?
Honestly, I was a little frustrated early. Felt like we didn't have enough carryover from the spring. Felt like just the knowledge base was not what I thought it would be, given the fact that we spent a spring and a summer together, and made that known. And I feel like they really made a good push the last 6 days. Again, that last cycle, that 4-day cycle, was a really good one for our group. I felt like Trevor Cardell in particular really made a strong push. Typical guy that's been two-sport athlete, spread receiver, tight end prospect in high school. Becoming a solid blocker has been a challenge for him, and I think he's beginning to find himself there. And I appreciate how he's battling through a knee that hurts sometimes. And I just feel like the group as a whole is moving in the right direction.
One of the things that made Kansas kind of so difficult to prepare for was the option game and quarterback run game that they did that was so different from other people around the conference. How do you balance maybe a little bit of that along with, Jalen and wanting to keep him healthy and all of those things?
I'd prefer not to speak about the option, because at this point our opponents don't know if we're going to run option or not, because they might think, well, that was just Andy and Grammy's not really an option guy. We have both at BYU and Baylor, we ran one of the versions of option that Kansas has run in much less regularity, not nearly as often, but we've always carried it, but sometimes less than others. Some, not at all in some games, but it was always an auxiliary play for us that was there, but it depended on the quarterback and how much I felt like, how well I think he can do it and withstand the beating, which maybe leads to the heart of your question: how much do you run Jalen? You could run him as much as you want, and he'd be really good at it. But I think there's a balance there for sure. And then there'll be runs that'll just be created due to pressure or any number of things that might happen. So a lot of those will just organically take place. I think it's got to be something that defense always is prepared for. You have to give them the threat of a quarterback run in most, if not all, situations. And I think that changes the game.
Jeff, I wonder, were you finished? Sorry.
Yep.
I wonder what your first impressions of Tory Lachlan were. Not necessarily how you'll use him, but just
About Tory?
Yeah. How he fits, veteran guy, selfless, all that stuff.
Yeah, he would be another guy that I would say has really come on and improved here the last 4 or 5 days. Had a really big play on a reverse, caught a go ball, both of those in our last scrimmage. Has improved as a blocker. And, he's bounced around at so many different positions. It's made it hard for him sometimes to really improve. And we've allowed him to focus a little bit more on receiver, and now we're getting him back to doing some of the things that he has done at running back, knowing that he can do both, and we might need him in both spots. That didn't answer your question. Your question of what was my first impressions. He felt like a guy that could do most things that you'd like a skill player to do on the field, and there's a lot of value in that.
What sort of camp has Trevor Wilson had, and how do you feel like his skill set fits into the big picture, what you want to do?
Yeah, he would be one of those guys that I would say fits into that next group of guys that isn't our most experienced, most productive players to this point. Certainly has done some things, but has battled through injuries and kind of battled through having some other guys in the room that are really good. And I think he's really tried to maintain a positive attitude and become a better player. But he would be one of those guys who would fit in that next category of guys that we need to take another step forward. And I think he can. He's got tremendous speed. he's shown this camp that he can be a productive runner when we give him the ball on a reverse or a fly sweep, and I mean, he can go. So there's some qualities there for sure.
Having had a cycle and a half of Bryce Calder playing left tackle, just what will you look for to determine if that's where you want him to stay?
I think just consistency at that spot, you know. We used to always think of the left tackle as being significantly different from the right tackle, and I don't think it's as true anymore. Although I would say it's still the side that the quarterback turns his back to most often, and so you're looking for the guy who can be your most productive and consistent pass blocker there, and sometimes that guy ends up being your best run blocking tackle as well. So you lean a little bit into the left side runs, and sometimes just the opposite's true. So we'll have to let that play itself out.
First time we talked to you, you talked about the two-headed running back guys. How are things looking behind those guys? How's Savion coming along? How's Harry Stewart done? You know, we got to see the clip of him scoring a touchdown in kind of a scrimmage situation.
Yeah, I would put them in that same group of guys that need to take a step forward, and I think they're doing well. I think they're both making progress. I think they both still have some room to grow.
And that's Coach Grimes.
All right,
Thanks, Jeff.
thanks, fellas.
Appreciate it.